The reason is that Hanli in the middle stage unexpectedly got into trouble with a group of golden core cultivators. Jenny is emotional. Good, very good. It also saves Han from having to collect more. It turns out that Hanli's demonic energy erupted, and he secretly sealed the demonic energy, causing his cultivation level to temporarily drop to the resident stage. In the middle stage, in order to avoid being hunted by sudden attackers, he mixed into a low-level cultivator caravan. Now this group of golden core cultivators has come to trouble him. The low-level cultivators of the caravan actually pushed Hanli out as a scapegoat. Who among you is the leader? Step forward and say something. A man in his 40s glanced at the caravan below and said coldly in a sudden tone. So, in the next moment, all their gazes turned to Hanli. After all, in the cultivation world, the one with the highest cultivation level automatically becomes the leader, which seems to be understandable. Seeing this situation, Hanli felt a wave of frustration in his heart. However, he also noticed one thing, that at this moment, Feng Yue and another sudden cultivator had not yet stepped out of the vehicle. Feng Yu hasn't come out yet, but I can still understand Yanner. Anyway, the end is near. Naturally, there's a bit of a self-destructive attitude, not afraid of offending high-level cultivators. But the other person is that abrupt person he was once curious about. He also just resides in the machine. His cultivation level is also stuck and can't come out. This is problematic. Could it be that these people came for this person? Hanli thought to himself. I wonder what the two seniors and several fellow Taoists are doing here. Are you looking for someone, or something? Or is there another reason for your visit? We, the juniors, will definitely cooperate to the best of our abilities. In desperation, Hanli stepped forward and calmly said. Hearing such unassuming words, the middle-aged man's eyes flashed with light. After circling around Hanli's hooded cloak, he suddenly said expressionlessly, First, take off the cloak. I want to see your face. Hanli felt a wave of frustration upon hearing this, but he was confident that he had never revealed his true appearance during the previous battles with his master, so this wasn't a big deal. Hanli listened to the words about appearance. A wave of frustration surged in her heart, but her arrogance from before and the sudden conflict with her master had never revealed her true self. This wasn't a big deal after all. This isn't a big deal. He simply took off the cloak without saying much, revealing an ordinary face. The few men and women on the giant screen simultaneously focused their attention on Hanli. Hanli even felt a wave of spiritual energy emanating from the man's tomb. They even used some kind of secret technique to observe him. It was his true appearance. Not that traitor. Moments later, the man in the tomb had a serious expression. He said to the woman beside him. The woman nodded slightly. After glancing at the other few cultivators, she also shook her head. At this moment, the man then turned to Hanli and said calmly, Call out all your companions. We are looking for someone. We suspect they are mixed in with your convoy. Once we find them, we will leave. We won't do anything to you. The man said this, but after a moment of silent communication, he waved his hand immediately. The other 6 men and women on the giant screen instantly flew out. They stopped above the vehicle where Feng Yue and another unusual person were located. It was clear they had already found their target. It was clear that she had found her target. The 2 carriages have arrived now. Still looking silent and still, the others who saw this didn't even dare to breathe. That tall man with the surname Ba, and the leader of the hired tribe, instantly turned pale, furrowing his brows, but said nothing. The man from the mansion saw no movement in the carriage, couldn't help but sneer. With a wave of his hand, a fireball the size of a fist appeared. He gently flicked all the fireballs straight towards one of the carriages with great force. Just then, a bitter laugh finally came from that carriage. I have already escaped to the Tianlan grassland. I've gone so far. Why must I be completely annihilated? Is it necessary to aim for death? As soon as the words fell, the entire carriage exploded, and a wave of white cold air rushed towards the fireballs. Instantly, the fireballs flickered and went out. A robust young man, around 27 or 28, appeared at the spot holding a round pearl of gold and silver. His expression was unpredictable. She appeared in the same spot. Her expression changed unpredictably. The decorations on the jump banner catch the eye. Yet everyone shows a familiar expression. Zhang Jianing, the snow crystal bead is indeed in your hands. The princess asked you to bring this pig. Go invite the elder beige one from Baihan Mountain. You dare to sneak away with this pig. What more is there to say now? The words of the past should obediently return to us. Perhaps we can still keep a remnant of your soul. The man's expression turned from joy to seriousness. He said grimly. At the same time, the 6 figures of the cultivators shifted. They blocked the retreat of the fierce young man on both sides. They completely cut off his escape. You want me to invite the elder Zhuanbing? Is it to make me a blood offering? Don't think I don't know. The intention behind assigning me this task was clear. You just thought I was suitable to be a soldier at the front lines, perfect for commemorating that northern Zhuan demon. If I don't run away, I would truly end up as a pile of bones. Upon hearing this, the young man laughed in anger. So, what if that's the case? Don't forget that your current cultivation and realm were all built up with various elixirs from the palace. Otherwise, decades ago, you would have been just a nobody. You would have long turned into a pile of white bones. Otherwise, decades ago, you are just a mere child. You would have long turned into a pile of bones. It can still be a decoration. Moreover, the palace will allow you to marry and have children, to leave descendants. What's wrong with repaying the palace in this life, establishing a name and achieving success? The woman said coldly. Nonsense. I should say that if it weren't for my military position, the palace would adopt me. With my talent, even if the palace does not adopt me, I would eventually become a disciple of the major sects. As for marrying and having children, these small favors, you want me to sacrifice my name for that? The palace really has a good plan. It's a clever idea, the young man said with a cold smile. Then, without hesitation, he threw the snow-white golden pearl from his hand. A thick white mist erupted from the pearl. It transformed into a mass of cold mist over 20 feet wide, enveloping him within. You have long harbored rebellious thoughts. No wonder you don't even care about your wife and children. The only option is to take you back to the palace for judgment. Do you think that, with this blood gold pearl, you can resist us? What a delusion, the woman said expressionlessly, with a wave of her hand. The 6th-7th level foundation building cultivators simultaneously raised one hand. A spear, a bright red flag appeared in her hand. Then she released it. It transformed into 6 groups of crimson flames merging into one. A fire cloud the size of a mother appeared in the cold mist above. It slowly pressed down. After that young man dedicated himself, these people began to converse with great intensity. The others were oblivious. They had no idea what was being said. They were completely confused. Hanli had learned the language of intensity long ago. She stood by, dumbfounded. What commander in the palace? Why did it sound so different from the usual cultivation sects? It seemed somewhat similar to the various powers in the chaotic sea. Could it be that the great cultivation world was as chaotic and complex as the chaotic sea? A presence of average influence. Is the great cultivation world also as chaotic and complex as the sea of turmoil? Is it also as chaotic and complicated as the sea of turmoil? Although the other abrupt people couldn't understand Da Jin's words, they knew the situation was dire. Those mortals had already quietly retreated and were hiding away. It was the cultivators among the abrupt people who were afraid of causing any misunderstandings and didn't dare to leave recklessly. They could only cast some protective spells on themselves to prevent being accidentally harmed. The fiery clouds collided with the mist below. The cold and hot air intertwines and flows, transforming into waves of cold, burning steam, sweeping in from all directions. It looks utterly unimpressive. Although the snow golden pearl is marvelous, the fierce young man is merely a machine ornament. He doesn't even have the ability to refine this item. Naturally, he cannot achieve his desires. Under the clash of ink, the mist immediately falls into a disadvantage. The fierce young man in the cold mist clearly knows the situation is dire. He desperately tries to control the cold mist to break through the fire clouds, but he is constantly trapped in the fire clouds by those 6 enlightened cultivators. Before long, the mist gradually shrinks. The fierce young man desperately injects his magical power into the pearl, yet he still cannot withstand the erosion of the fire source. After a meal's time, it ultimately shrinks to only the size of a few tenths. Gu Tong, you need to take action. He still has some use. He must be captured alive. Seeing this situation, it was simple. The woman suddenly turned to the man and said, "Don't worry, just leave this matter to Gumo." The man coldly nodded. He leapt and transformed into a white shadow, entering the cold mist. The 6 assisting cultivators saw this, and simultaneously cast spells against the surrounding fire clouds. At the same time, they cast spells on the surrounding fiery clouds. A swirling mist rolled through the cold fog. Moments later, a loud bang and a muffled groan from the doctor were heard. Then, the cold fog gradually dissipated, revealing the emotions within. The man stood proudly in place, one hand holding the unconscious youth, and the other grasping the blood gold pearl. Under the opponent's significant loss, the man struck with the cultivation of a thief. Indeed, he easily succeeded with one blow. The thief woman saw this, and a satisfied expression appeared on her face. It seemed that this time, it was worth the trip. The man tossed the youth to a subordinate, instructing him, then turned his gaze towards Han Li and the others who were watching. He showed a contemplative expression. Let's not cause any trouble. This is the Sky Blue Prairie, not our wine immortal palace. Although we have communicated with the Sky Blue Sacred Hall, it's best not to provoke any trouble. The service clan is very protective. The woman frowned and said, Understood. Then let's go. Huh, what is this? The man nodded, and was about to soar back to the giant figure. The gaze inadvertently shifted, suddenly landing on something scattered on the ground, letting out a surprised gasp. The blue-clad figure's eyes filled with tears upon seeing this. Also looked over in response. There lay a semi-transparent, oval-shaped stone, just resting there. This stone was somewhat peculiar. Its exterior was crystal clear, but inside, a flame-like golden light flickered unpredictably, emitting a unique glow. Most of the stone's surface was dirty, making it previously unremarkable. However, after being washed by the steam just now, it revealed part of its original appearance. The stunning stone turned out to be a stunning stone. Han, your fortune is truly extraordinary. Hanli felt it was somewhat familiar, as if he had seen this thing somewhere before. His mind suddenly recalled the astonished expression of the Ice Spirit. At that moment, he remembered. This item was not formally refined. It was a crucial material needed to replicate the seven-eyed fan, which had long been extinct in Tianlan. Whether it could be found in Dajin, even the Ice Spirit did not have complete confidence. At this time, the man seemed to recognize its origin as well. His figure flashed with ecstatic joy. He rushed to the side of the golden goose stone. Bending down, he excitedly picked up this item. He bent down excitedly to pick up the item. With a whoosh, a flash of golden light appeared before the man. The golden rock suddenly soared into the air without warning, and shot out like a chicken wing. The man was taken aback. Naturally, he cursed as he instinctively reacted. When Daji reached out to grab it, it was clearly a bit too late. The golden rock instantly transformed into a golden blur, and swiftly fell into the hands of another nearby person. At this moment, whether it was Dajin or the somewhat confused abrupt people, they were all stunned, and this person was undoubtedly Hanli. At this time, Hanli held the stone in one hand, examining it closely, completely ignoring the others around her. The expression of the simple man instantly turned ashen. The simple man's expression instantly turned pale. Hand that thing over to me. Cut off another arm? I can spare your life. He stared intently. Hanli said ominously again and again. After Hanli confirmed once more from the great-eyed god that this stone is indeed the stunning stone, she put the stone into her storage bag. She smiled at the man. Calmly, she said, I also have my eyes on this item. I don't want to give it to you. I don't want to give it to you either. I don't want to harm myself again. It's better to have a few fellow cultivators. Just pretend nothing happened. How about we go back like this? The man was furious upon hearing this. His face darkened as he clenched his fists. Suddenly, a white spiritual light began to emanate from him. He looked ready to strike. What's going on with Gutongling? What on earth is that strange thing? If it's not something important, then don't stir up trouble. The woman beside him, however, sensed something. Hanli is not simple. She suddenly spoke up. Upon hearing this, Gutongling hesitated for a moment. He slightly moved his lips and transmitted a message. After a moment, the white-robed woman showed a look of shock. She fell into deep thought. Could it really be that item? The white-robed woman's expression became serious. She asked with great emphasis, Absolutely no mistake. You know I originally came from the chair-refining stage. That peculiar stone from the heavens. I've lost count of how many times I've seen it. It's definitely that item. No doubt about it. If I can obtain this rare treasure and present it to the princess, this item is definitely it. If I can obtain this rare treasure and present it to the princess, please capture a traitor. Compared to the credit for chasing the blood gold pearl, this is nothing at all, the man said excitedly. Upon hearing this, the woman glanced at Hanli briefly, and after confirming that he indeed had machine-level cultivation, her eyes sparkled with light. The murderous aura between her brows diminished. Not only this person, but all the sudden intruders should be eliminated without exception. There are no witnesses. Even the Azure Sky Sanctuary wouldn't truly turn against us. For a few low-level immortal masters and hundreds of mortals, worst case, the price of the items in this transaction could be lowered by another 10%, the woman in white said with a frown, while at the same time, a platform emitted a beam of light after a brief inspection, targeting a sudden intruder who was a cultivator at the machine stage. Although that sudden intruder was wearing a blue protective talisman, how could it possibly withstand the might of the single strike? With a scream, he was immediately split in half. After a silver-red object spiraled, it revealed its true form, which turned out to be a bright emperor's flying knife, continuously extending. The remaining cultivators at the chicken stage were all startled. the other monks in the Great Chicken period of advancement. The woman leading the group gave the command. Immediately, the magical tools were dispatched. They all rushed towards the remaining 3 members of the Tu Wu sect. The mortals, who were a bit farther away, were not in a hurry to kill. After all, they couldn't run far anyway. Upon seeing these advanced cultivators take action, the 3 Tu Wu sect cultivators were naturally filled with anger and fear. However, one of them was at the early stage of foundation building, and the other 2 were in the training stage. What could they do? It was those 6 foundation building cultivators and the leader. Although they fought desperately, in the blink of an eye, these cultivators had already strangled them. 2 of them simply charged towards the carriage where Feng Yu was located, preparing to eliminate this hidden person as well. The woman standing on the giant screen saw this, feeling neither surprised nor delighted. This outcome was already anticipated. However, when her gaze shifted towards the man, her expression changed dramatically. It turned out that, as soon as the man heard the woman's command, he unleashed his true essence. It splashed and transformed into a streak of white and red, directly slashing towards Han Li. But Han Li sighed, waved his hand, and suddenly a small black sail appeared in his palm. After a gentle shake, gently swayed. This sail, lengthened by the wind, transforms into a ball of light wood. It protects the entire body with a silver red lantern behind the shrine. It was unexpectedly rebounded directly. There is simply no way to calculate it properly. At this point, the man naturally becomes anxious. In a moment of urgency, he hurriedly activates his own strength. After a swirl of white and red, it surprisingly transforms into a towering giant python. After a turn, it encloses the black light wood within. With its massive mouth wide open, it desperately coils and bites. But that inconspicuous black light wood seems to be forged from adamantine. The giant python's tight entanglement and biting are completely useless. When the woman in white glanced over, she happened to witness this scene. She couldn't help but feel a slight stir in her heart. The other party dared to rob something so well guarded, clearly had some confidence. With this thought in mind, the woman unknowingly pointed with her hand. The flying knife treasure in the distance trembled slightly, and instantly transformed into a silver red chicken coop. In the next moment, it fiercely struck the black light screen. As a result, the silver red struck the lightwood repeatedly, but the lightwood remained unharmed. It shook its head without a care. After exchanging a glance with the man, they both saw a look of shock in each other's eyes. You guys, don't worry about the person in that vehicle anymore. Hurry to Fire Rock Town to refine this person. The woman suddenly twisted her hand. The order was given in between. Those few were modifying the machines. Thus, this command was issued. The fiery red flags sent out by Bujiasi were numerous. Suddenly, a large source of fire appeared in the sky above, and it slowly pressed down. Good, very good. This saves Han from having to exert more effort. In the light, at this moment, Han Li's faint voice was heard. Then suddenly, the top of the light flickered. A black-green baby appeared there with a grin. It was still holding that small black sail. The reason is that you are the modification of the 7th vowel. And wait, don't act rashly. I have to leave immediately. I absolutely dare not compete with my senior for things. Upon seeing this, he almost acted recklessly. The woman turned pale as if struck by a heavy hammer. She realized she had just done something foolish. In a panic, she hurriedly pleaded. At the same time, her mind moved. She was about to recall her flying knife treasure. But at this moment, Han Li's second reason let out a thin cold laugh. With a flick of his hand, the small sail instantly went wild. It transformed into a several meters high. Dark, ominous demonic energy surged from above. A demonic cloud much larger than the fiery cloud. Suddenly, a light appeared. In the sky, whether it was flying knives, giant pythons, or fiery clouds, they were all submerged under the rolling, swelling demonic cloud. They were swept into it, a man and a woman, along with a few machine-enhanced individuals. At that moment, simultaneously lost contact with their magical treasures. Ying Luofen, you are the law enforcement elder of Ying Luo sect. The man, already dumbfounded, upon seeing this scene, was instantly terrified and screamed. Immediately, his entire body glowed with spiritual light. He transformed into a ball of white light with 4 eyes and flew away. He even disregarded his own life treasure. The woman in white, upon hearing that the man had given up his tomato, gasped when the Ying Luo sect's treasure was used. Without thinking too much, the Shu Dao spell was infused into the giant's body. At the same time, the Jade Clan suddenly pointed the giant axe. The giant's form suddenly grew by a third. A green light burst forth from his body. With a strange cry, he transformed into a green-red streak and escaped into the void. This was exactly in the opposite direction of the man who was in trouble. Under the habitual response of the demonic sect, This woman did not hope that this old monster from Yingluo sect would truly stand guard. At the same time, she felt great hatred towards the man for being meddlesome. Otherwise, if he had just returned earlier, everything would have been fine. Otherwise, wouldn't everything be for nothing after what was said earlier? The few male and female cultivators in the Foundation establishment stage were so frightened that their souls nearly left their bodies. The jade artifacts scattered and fled in the same manner. A flash of clear light appeared amidst the demonic clouds. Han Li's figure materialized on the flag, watching the backs of these high-level cultivators fleeing in all directions. A hint of meaning appeared at the corner of his mouth. He patted the storage bag at his waist. Dozens of white lights flew out from the bag. They transformed into snow-white centipedes about half a foot long and shot away. They grouped into pairs and chased after the 6 cultivators in the core formation stage. At the same time, a black light flickered. A black hole several feet wide emerged. From it, a huge golden devouring insect, shrouded in black mist, flew out. Its eyes glowed with a bloody light. After a few moments, it suddenly spread its wings. It transformed into a beam of golden light and charged toward the spine of a fleeing man. Meanwhile, after the black-green golden devouring insect flew out, it leapt into the magical cloud below. It drove itself headlong into the swirling demonic clouds. The demonic aura suddenly rolled and became unstable. Suddenly, a piercing sound erupted as it shot into the sky. After a brief flash, it appeared at an altitude of over 100 feet. It rushed straight toward the fleeing giant. The dark clouds obscured the sky and the sun. It felt as if a demon god had descended upon the world. Yet, Han Li floated in the air, unmoving. However, Han Li floated in the air, not moving at all, watching all of this with a blank expression. The distant, abrupt mortals of the Zufu tribe have never witnessed a battle of this magnitude. Moreover, seeing several immortal masters perish only added to their fear. They ran away in terror. Occasionally, a few brave ones stayed nearby, but upon seeing Han Li's imposing presence, they didn't dare to approach for advancement. Han Li was quite pleased with this. In almost an instant, the 6 fleeing 7th-tier cultivators were caught up by the snow-white centipede one after another. These 7th-tier cultivators were no match for the dual attack of the 6. Although they were merely larvae, under the chilling aura that even the single cultivators feared, they had no power to fight back. They were turned into massive ice blocks. Then, both their bodies and souls were torn to shreds. The man transformed into a white light shield. Without his life-saving treasure, he was no faster than the others. Moments later, he was also caught by the giant insect. In a state of utter despair, the demonic golden insect easily bit through several layers of the man's protective barriers and burrowed into his body. Immediately, the man plummeted from the sky to the ground, easily bit through several layers of the man's defenses, and burrowed into his body. The man immediately fell from the air to the ground, rolling on the ground in pain, holding his head. In just a moment, he was dead. However, that woman in white had a huge advantage. Although her level was not high, she seemed to be skilled in the art of flight. Under the activation of the spell, she surprisingly moved at an incredible speed. But after flying several dozen miles, driven by the demonic clouds of Han Li, she was ultimately engulfed by the merciless demonic clouds. From then on, this woman vanished without a trace from the world. But when the demonic clouds returned, Han Li was toying with a golden pearl in his hand, looking at something that was thrown on the ground, which had been modified by a powerful force. His face was filled with a look of disbelief. This so-called thing was precisely that fierce young man who had been modified by the powerful force not long ago. However, referring to a corpse as a thing was not inappropriate at all. Looking at the lifeless body of the young man on the ground, Han Li muttered a few words. This was not his doing. Instead, when he tried to wake the young man to ask about the origins of these powerful cultivators, this person already had a face full of stains, looking like he had committed suicide by poison. It seems these 7 years have been quite ruthless. Knowing that death is unavoidable, he actually took poison beforehand before coming out to fight. This way, once captured, he wouldn't have to fear the pain of soul refining or the like. However, the panic dissipated so quickly, it seems he did something to himself. Shaking your head, feeling quite amused yet helpless inside. If this person were in the underground world, he could have been saved, but he missed the chance due to suicide. I really don't know what kind of expression he would show. However, Han Li is not familiar with this person, so naturally, she wouldn't have any special feelings. Without much thought, a small fireball shot out, instantly turning the young man's body into ashes. Moments later, the demonic clouds fled and were destroyed. The second reason was the appearance of the black sail. With a gentle wave, after a gust of wind, All the demonic energy was collected. One spiraled and shot towards Han Li's heavenly spirit. It vanished in a flash without a trace. Only then did Han Li look around. She saw those sudden martial tribes. All the mortals standing far away. Some with fearful and ugly expressions. "We can't stay here any longer. Come with me. Before you poison yourself, you still need to tell me the address of the secret cave." Han Li said to a certain carriage. "So, you are the elder of the Ying Luo sect. No wonder you could easily eliminate the old thief Fengzhen and the precious Hao Yuan pill." The curtain of the carriage was slowly lifted. Feng Yue, wearing a cloak, walked out from inside. His voice sounded somewhat unusual, with a hint of excitement. "Ha ha, elder of the Ying Luo sect. Let's talk about this later. Let's go." Han Li sneered. Without saying another word, she released a flying sword. The jade artifact soared into the air. Feng Yue hesitated for a moment, but then followed without further delay. Immediately, the two transformed into beams of light, gradually moving further apart, eventually disappearing at the edge of the sky. At this time, the mortals of the abrupt tribe in the distance finally had the courage to return to the caravan. After a few of them exchanged glances, each wore a wry smile. Now their hired immortal corpses were either dead or gone, and they still had no idea what had happened. A few days later, this matter finally spread. Several senior masters died at once. Even if they were all low-level senior masters, even if they are all low-level masters, it's not a small matter anymore, especially since it involves the Leidawuju tribe and the high-ranking monks doing business with the temple. It can't be taken lightly. Some celestial masters from the temple rushed over upon hearing the news. After a round of questioning and analysis, they finally recognized the culprit. It turned out to be someone who had killed several foreign tribesmen recently. Through the words of a mortal who witnessed the event, the identity of this foreign tribesman seemed to have been revealed. He is actually one of the top 10 demons of Daijin, an elder of the Yin Luo sect. Since this was said by the destroyed Juxian palace, it probably won't be wrong. Moreover, how could the Leidawuju not know about the reputation of the Yin Luo sect's treasure, the Ghost Luo fan? This made some of the celestial masters who participated in the gambling battle realize something. It turns out that during the last great battle, this elder Yin Luo had not used all his strength. He had not even used this kind of quality assurance. However, possessing such supernatural powers and the Ghost Luo fan, it's likely that this person is also one of the top figures among the Yin Luo elders. As for why this person appeared on the grassland and fought against them, it left another group of Leidawuju masters puzzled. Some suddenly realized, after all, it was a holy war decades ago. Behind their archenemy, the Mulan people, there are shadows of the Ingler sect, intentionally infiltrated deep into the grasslands to kill and get rich. Because of the Mulan people's failure, what other schemes could there be? It seems this is the only reason. That barely makes sense. After obtaining a seemingly plausible reason, the two Warren finally felt much more at ease. After all, no matter how powerful the enemy is, knowing the origin of the graveyard makes it much easier to deal with. On one hand, the Sky Blue Temple immediately dispatched a large number of decorations to patrol the border between the Great Realm and the grasslands, to prevent the Ingler sect members from coming to assist their elder. On the other hand, they concentrated a group of extremely fast Yuanying level masters, ready to eliminate this elder of the Ingler sect at any time. No matter how powerful the other party's identity is, they cannot allow the other party to leave the Sky Blue grasslands alive. Otherwise, once this matter gets out, the Sky Blue Temple, leading the Sky Blue grassland cultivation world, would truly lose all face. Thus, this time's Arbor Day, a certain temple, the opening ceremony presided over by the saintess herself. It ended very hastily, taking only 2 days, and 1 day later, behind this temple, in a heavily guarded forbiddance area, more than 100 high-level immortal corpses gradually appeared here after the bathing ritual. This is a giant square covering nearly 1,000 feet. In the center, there is a giant formation diagram. Just the embedded central street insignias on the formation diagram number more than 100. At the center of the formation, there is a grayish-white rectangular sacrificial altar about 5 or 6 feet high, simple and ancient, made of ordinary white stones. The walls are engraved with several unknown rune symbols. There are no other inscriptions. At this moment, around the formation, there are more than 10 upper street masters at the Yuanying stage. All of these people stand quietly, with solemn expressions, as if waiting for someone. After a meal's worth of silence, 2 women and 1 man walked in side by side from beyond the mirror. The one in the middle is a tall woman in a silver robe. A white veil covers most of her jade-like face. A tall, silver-robed woman A white gauze blindfold covered most of her jade-like face, but the hair falls like dark clouds with pointed tips. The skin is as tender as pastry and as white as snow. A pair of beautiful eyes, clear and dreamy, captivating and breathtaking. One of the men is a handsome young man. He looks to be only in his 30s, yet his gaze flickers. His shoulders give off an unusually weathered feeling. On the other side, the woman is a voluptuous and alluring beauty, dressed in yellow garments, with a head of long, strange purple hair like satin. Her bare arms each have a fist, a large black demon head biting down hard on them. Yet this beautiful woman shows no sign of pain as her eyes flow with autumn waves. Meeting the Holy Maiden and the Great Master, the surrounding immortal masters. Upon seeing these three enter, all surrounded Zia and expressed their respect. The three also nodded in greeting to the surrounding masters. They walked about 3 to 4 yards in front of the altar, before stopping and turning back. Fellow masters need not pay too much attention. This summoning ritual is not only to hunt down that foreigner, but also to allow the holy beast's avatar to permanently stay in the temple for the first time. I hope all fellow Taoists will do their utmost to assist this palace, and for the success rate of this ritual to be higher. The two great masters deliberately spent over 10 years to find suitable offerings. For this spell, the two great masters should present the offerings first. After the silver-robed woman elegantly turned around, her melodious voice, like the sound of heavenly music, slowly resonated. It clearly reached the ears of everyone present. Upon hearing this, the other masters mostly showed expressions of excitement. After the handsome young man and the beautiful woman exchanged glances, they smiled slightly. At the same time, they lightly clapped their hands. Suddenly, a heavy sound of footsteps came from outside the square, causing even the ground to tremble slightly. At this moment, some people couldn't help but feel surprised, and hurriedly turned to look. They saw a pair of giant bronze figures, each towering to meters high, walking in from both sides of the square. Each pair of bronze figures had 8 in total, their bodies shimmering with golden light, marching towards the center of the square, while carrying a huge wooden frame. On the wooden frame, something massive was faintly placed. As the wooden frame was lifted step by the bronze figures, it was steadily brought to the altar and placed down. Even the most composed person, after seeing the objects above clearly, I couldn't help but gasp in shock. A beast resembling a wild bull, shining with a bright light, a giant white hair spiraling in the air. Both were as huge as small mountains, but they were all drowsy and dazed on the wooden frame, looking completely unconscious. Not only that, just from the demonic aura emanating from these two, one could tell even a common person that these were 2 level 7 top tier, terrifying beings about to step into level 8. No wonder even the two great immortals took such a long time to capture. This Qingfeng bull and the Bing Jamang could be considered a part of the wilderness, just right to match the courage of the sacrifice. But whether they can truly keep the holy beast's avatar in the human realm still depends on the clan's fortune. Let the sacrifice begin below. The silver-robed woman's gaze was like autumn water. She calmly swept her eyes over everyone present, and said nonchalantly, then, with her jade hand, she lightly waved at a certain beast on the wooden frame. A burst of silver threads shot out from her jade hand, instantly transforming into hundreds of silver chains, which tightly bound the beast. Then, under the flickering glow, the massive body of the giant bull gently floated up, slowly moving towards the altar. At this moment, the previously unconscious blue bull suddenly woke up. Upon seeing this scene, it immediately trembled in fear. Knowing something was wrong, it tried to struggle to get up, but its body was already bound by several extremely powerful restraints, along with over 100 silver chains trapping it. How could it move even a bit? It could only watch in a panic, as it was suspended and moved to the altar. It opened its mouth, wanting to roar, but no sound came out. Not a single thought could be expressed. The woman in the silver robe twisted at her waist, suddenly turning to face the altar. With a flick of her silver sleeve, a beam of bright light shot out. After spiraling, it hovered above the massive body of the blue bull. It turned out to be a mini top wrapped in pale blue flames. It spun continuously, appearing mysterious and unfathomable. The woman formed hand seals, and a melodious incantation slowly flowed from her mouth. Her heart was filled with excitement, and the small top gradually began to grow, transforming into a large, inflated cauldron. If Han Li were to see Imu here, she would probably be stunned in shock immediately. Besides the flames on top, this peak surprisingly looks about 80 to 90% similar to the Zushan peak, with the same designs of flowers, birds, insects, and beasts. It is truly incredible. Suddenly, the heavenly blue Saina spoke, and the rain began to fall. She unexpectedly extended a jade paper, pointing at this peak. The top cover became one. A clear light soared into the sky. Then, the spiritual light became dazzling and blinding. A piece of sparkling light veil shot out from the top, transforming into dots of starlight, covering the space above the altar. After gazing at it, one couldn't help but fall into a dreamlike state. The silver-robed woman saw this. The sound of rain suddenly paused. On the altar, it seemed like an excellent series of paper. A flash of spiritual light immediately transformed into a fine mesh. The body of the monster was like hundreds of blades, cutting simultaneously. In an instant, the clear wind and strong force were literally dissected into countless pieces. The smell of blood instantly filled the entire square. Just at this moment, the light veil fell like the Milky Way. It densely scattered onto the altar. Instantly, a layer of green light covered the corpse of the beast. All the sand grains flickered in and out, as if they were feasting on flesh and blood. It was somewhat chilling. A ball of emerald light unexpectedly flew out from the beast's corpse. It headed straight for the sky. It was the primordial spirit of Qing Fengliu, who had practiced bitterly for many years. But countless green rays shot up from the altar, like a fierce attack. In the blink of an eye, they knocked the light ball down from the sky. Then the light veil surged up. It submerged the beast's primordial spirit beneath it. The weak beast's flesh and blood, after a brief moment, completely turned into nothingness. Not even a single bone was left, and the light veil that had consumed the flesh and blood ascended back into the sky. Each grain faintly glimmered with a blood color. Upon seeing this scene, the silver-robed woman remained unfazed. She waved her hand at the white giant python. The silver thread chain tightly bound the beast's abdomen. Silently, it was moved to the altar. After passing through the unmistakable blood stains, the light veil had consumed the flesh and blood of 2 seven-spined beasts, completely transforming into a mass of blood cloud, suspended motionless above the altar. The woman in the silver robe is now using a spell to summon a giant cauldron. After a buzzing sound, the cauldron slowly descended onto the altar and began to summon the sacred beasts. "Please lend me your strength," the silver-robed woman said to the beautiful young woman beside her, with a hint of urgency. "Of course, I will do my best." The handsome young man smiled confidently and said calmly. The beautiful young woman also smiled slightly. The silver-robed woman nodded. Raising both hands, her 10 fingers flicked. A series of spells shot out, flying towards the surrounding magic array. Instantly, lights began to shine everywhere. The magic array started to operate. On the altar, the cauldron and the magic array below responded to each other. Similarly, a flickering blue light, accompanied by flames, now appeared somewhat weak. The woman stepped forward, slightly raising her voice as a gray incantation sounded. This time, the 2 great masters on one side simultaneously extended a hand, resting on the woman's shoulder. Pure spiritual energy slowly flowed into the woman's body. Her entire body shimmered with glowing light. A strange pattern resembling a cow's hand appeared on her head. It slowly emerged. She brought her hands together and then spread them apart. 2 beams of pure golden spiritual energy shot out from her palms. They accumulated at the top of her head. The top spun continuously. It absorbed all the white light within. Suddenly, a burst of blue light shot out from within. In an instant, it gathered into a glowing sphere the size of a head. It kept compressing and condensing towards the center. At that dazzling moment, the silver-robed woman noticed the situation. Her expression became serious. The beam of light she was emitting began to fluctuate in thickness. It seemed she was manipulating the light within the top. The handsome young man beside her and the purple-haired woman also did not dare to slack off. The spiritual energy poured into the sky-blue woman without pause. Not a moment could they afford to stop. Time passed little by little. The glowing sphere became increasingly brilliant and dazzling. It began to emit a piercing sound. At this moment, the surrounding spiritual energy resonated and shot out 5-colored light. It continuously flew into the glowing sphere. The silver-robed woman's expression grew more cautious, yet her incantation became lower and lower. The incantation became quieter and quieter. After a meal, following a loud rumble, the glowing sphere shrank and then burst apart. A round, youthful sun instantly rose, but it vanished just as quickly, leaving no trace. What remained was a light hole the size of an egg, floating in its original place. But this hole only appeared for a moment, before collapsing and disappearing. And in that brief moment, a red light shot out from within, diving straight into the blood in the air. The suspended blood seemed to react to this, immediately pouncing on it, wrapping the red light tightly within. A blood pool, the size of a large basin, quickly formed, and it was clear to see. Something was wriggling inside the blood pool. The surrounding foggy figures were stunned by this, each one looking dumbfounded. Meanwhile, the robed woman silently pointed at the giant cauldron. A mass of green silk swept out, pulling the blood pool into it. with a beam of light flying in from outside, covering the giant cauldron tightly. The youthful flames surged 2 to 3 meters high, submerging the giant cauldron within. Under the altar, the magic circle flickered with spiritual light, and began to gather astonishing spiritual energy, slowly injecting into the clear flame. The sky blue Sanus finally let out a sigh of relief. The ritual went relatively smoothly, but whether the Holy Beast's avatar can truly be retained will only be revealed in a month. But there is no doubt, even if the Holy Beast's avatar cannot be deciphered by the 9 generations, this time, staying for 7 or 8 days is not a problem. During this time, we can use the Holy Beast's divine abilities to find that foreigner. Fellow Taoists can go back and rest now. Once the Holy Beast's rebirth is completed, I and the 2 great masters will personally lead the team to capture that foreigner. After the silver-robed woman pondered her strategy, she spoke clearly to everyone present. The sudden workers in the square naturally had no objections. Immediately, they all left. However, some who were curious couldn't help but take a few more glances. Soon, the entire Forbiddance area was left with just this woman and the 2 great masters. Learning from the Tao has its origins. I will trouble you 2 guardians for another 2 days. In case the Holy Beast encounters any accidents while rebirthing its spirit, the sky blue Sanus gently said to the 2 beautiful men, "This is natural. Neither of us wants to see our 10 years of hard work go to waste." In the end, the attack failed, and the city was on the verge of collapse. Each of them agreed without a second thought. The handsome young man did not say anything, but he nodded in agreement. Only then did the woman in the silver robe feel a sense of relief. At this moment, a faint sound began to resonate from the cauldron. It was a low roar like thunder. The expression of the woman in the silver robe changed. After exchanging glances with the 2, she immediately sat down solemnly around the altar. 2 days later, the Azure Temple rang with a series of melodious spells. Many representatives from various tribes who had not yet left, along with low-level cultivators, all looked towards the temple in surprise. As a result, they saw more than a dozen beams of shield light shooting through the air from behind the temple, transforming into a stunning array of brilliant lights that soared into the southern sky. Although the shield light moved too quickly to discern who was within, such astonishing shield light could not possibly belong to low-level cultivators. It caused quite a stir among the crowd. These beams of shield light showed no signs of stopping as they raced southward. 3 days later, at the northern end of the largest river in the Azure Grassland, on a section of the water surface of the Tiashui River, a streak of blue and red flew by. After circling around the river surface, a large red beast was presented, born from the hands of a cow. This beast is not too large, only about 3 to 4 jong. However, it is enveloped in a layer of bluish mist. Its appearance is somewhat vague. On the beast's hand, the sky blue Sanus stands gracefully, her eyes flowing as she surveys the water surface. After a moment, the sky flickers with light, and a group swiftly approaches. Leading them are 2 great masters. Lin Dao Yu has found that person. The one speaking is the purple-haired woman. It should be correct, since that person carries so many wet wipes. Even if placed in a retail bag, it wouldn't escape the notice of the sacred beast Ling Ju party. That person just left here not long ago. They should be just ahead, not far away. This person is quite cunning, actually sneaking under the river. I wonder how so many people failed to discover their trace. Let's go, the silver-robed woman said confidently. I also want to see if this person is truly an elder of the Ying Luo sect. The formidable Qinqian hand of the 5 elements has struck. Yet, they remain so calm and untroubled. Su also wants to experience their divine powers. The handsome young man said coldly, I've heard this person doesn't look very imposing. They seem quite young. I also want to see what kind of formidable character they truly are. The beautiful woman said leisurely, since both of you are feeling so anxious, let's go then. The silver-robed woman smiled charmingly. A figure appeared on her forehead. Using some ancient language, she conversed with the strange beast beneath her. After a few exchanges, the beast snorted through its nose, then transformed into a beam of clear light, departing on its own, hungry. The other cultivators, seeing this, quickly followed suit. This time, they flew along the river for about 400 to 500 miles. Ahead appeared a much narrower section of the river. Then, from an extremely distant place, a blood shadow surged up from beneath the water. Soon after, flashes of blood appeared in the distance. That person suddenly vanished from sight. This is bad. The outsiders have sensed something. It seems the secret technique has failed and they are fleeing, now appearing hundreds of miles away. This person's divine history is incredibly powerful. I'm afraid this is going to be quite tricky. The other friends are too slow to act. The 3 of us will go ahead and block them. Otherwise, the other party will become cautious. Next time, it won't be easy to track them down. Wait a moment for the young man and the beautiful father to catch up, the sky blue saint said decisively. The other two naturally had no objections. Immediately, they sent a sound transmission talisman to those who had fallen behind. After giving a brief reminder, the three quickly flew off with all their might. Although at such a far distance, no one could use the divine stone to lock onto the foreigner, but relying on the profound and mysterious powers of the sacred beast's avatar, the three still tightly followed Han Li's trail, continuing the chase. This chase lasted for a whole day and night. Although the three of them were repeatedly thrown off for 1,000 miles using the blood guide shield, they would soon adjust their direction again and catch up once more, and Han Li, who was forced to use the unsealing method 3 times, realized he still couldn't shake off these three. He sank into silence, feeling resigned. When he found he couldn't shake off these three people, Din silently sank down